All right, y'all, this right here is absolutely crazy. According to Axios, Joe Manchin may actually be running for president. Manchin launching tour to weigh interest from politically homeless. So he decided, you all know he's not running for re-election in the Senate, for the U.S. Senate in West Virginia, which, by the way, that is actually a smart move. Why? Because Jim Justice would kick his butt sacks. It wouldn't even be close. Jim Justice is a big old boy from West Virginia. He was a Democrat. He flipped to being a Republican during the Trump era. He owns I think he's a billionaire, one of the richest men in West Virginia. He owns the Greenbrier Resort, and he's the governor. And he's just a big old boy who West Virginians love, right? He's also a scummy politician, let's be clear. But Jim Justice would mop the floor with Manchin. Mop the floor with him. So Manchin, I think he knows that. I think he sees the polls and he's like, I'm done. So he stepped aside, but now it looks like he actually wants to run for president because he's doing a tour. Why are you doing a tour? Here's what they say. Joe Manchin said Tuesday that he plans to travel for 2 months starting in January to try to mobilize voters who, like himself, feel like they're homeless, politically homeless. We're going to get back to that in a second because this point from Manchin drives me crazy. Manchin has left the door open for a possible third-party presidential bid since he announced that he is retiring from the Senate, but did not speculate any further about his political future. I start in January, I'll be 2 months on the road, and all we're trying to do is just mobilize people like myself who feel like they're homeless, politically homeless. I don't recognize the Democratic Party, and I have a D by my name. Oh, yes, I know, Joe. His argument, they've gone way too far left, guys. This is what he thinks. I have a lot of Republicans who don't recognize the Republican Party that have R's by their name, he said. Manchin has rejected the notion that he'd be a spoiler candidate if he were to enter the 2024 race and said again this week that if he were to mount a bid, he'd get in to win. See, now if he really believes that, he's an idiot. RFK is the independent candidate who's polling the highest, and he has a 0% chance of winning. Remember, guys, Ross Perot was the most successful modern-day independent presidential campaign. He got about 19% of the vote and got 0 electoral college votes. It's not going to happen. The way the system is structured, it's going to be one of the two major party people who win. Now, if we get ranked choice voting, then it's possible for third-party candidates or independent candidates to win. But we don't have that nationally now, so I don't know why he's pretending like he has a chance. Again, he might just be dumb. He might just be dumb, and he might genuinely not understand the way the system works. Where was I? I've never been a spoiler in anything. Manchin, when he announced his resignation from the Senate last month, said that he would be traveling the country and speaking out to gauge interest in creating a movement to mobilize the middle and bring Americans together. He did not speculate on this political future during the Wall Street Journal event, saying, "What I can tell you is there might be a movement, there might not. That depends. I really don't know." The fact that he's traveling tells me he's leaning more in favor of, I'm going to do it. I'm going to run for president. I'm going to do it. Because, it's not a little thing to say, I'm going to go travel the country for 2 months. That's not a little thing. That's a big deal. That requires a lot of groundwork, a lot of preparation. It's a massive, massive undertaking. You don't do that if you're not leaning more in favor of, I'm going to run for president. So that is the reddest of red flags I've ever seen in my life. That's point number one. Point number two, the thing about Joe Manchin that drives me crazy is this notion, like he said, bro, I'm just a maverick. I feel like I'm homeless. I'm politically homeless in this country, man. Meanwhile, he is the absolute embodiment of the establishment and the status quo. He shouldn't feel politically homeless. He is as politically home as anybody has ever been in United States history. Why do I say that? Who runs this country? It's certainly the donors and the Democrats and the Republicans, the establishments of both parties. Manchin's voting record was literally 50% with Republicans, 50% for Democrats, and always on the side of the donors. So the three prongs of the establishment, the donor class, the Democratic Party leadership, and the Republican Party leadership, nobody has been a loyal servant of all three more than him. He is what I would call a Washington centrist, which means what? He is right smack dab in the middle of the swamp. He has the mainstream opinion, the centrist opinion of the corrupt swamp. What do the donors want? You got it. What does the Republican leadership want? What does the Democratic leadership want? You got it. That's what Joe Manchin, will deliver on. So Joe Manchin is the reason why roughly 85% of Biden's Build Back Better agenda was killed. It was killed because of him. He came along and said, look, I don't want to lower all the prescription drug prices. I'll lower some of them. I don't want to lower all of them. That's what centrism is to him. Centrism is looking at one group of people that says, let's lower all the prescription drug prices. The other group of people saying, let's lower none of the prescription drug prices. And he comes in and goes, let's lower 5 of the prescription drug prices. That's Joe Manchin. That's what he does. He's the guy who came in and said, under no circumstance will I lower the age for getting Medicare. So, of course, that was on the table. People were talking about, hey, is it going to be 50 years old? Maybe 55 years old. Let's allow people into Medicaid starting at age 50 or 55. That was one of the ideas floated in the original Build Back Better. Manchin jumped in and said, no, under no circumstances will I lower the Medicare age. So, in other words, I want fewer people to have health care. That was his stance. Now, is he a centrist? Yeah, that's a DC centrist. That's right smack dab in the middle of the swamp. You have the Republicans saying, no, we either don't want to change Medicare eligibility at all, or we want to just get rid of Medicare and privatize it. That's the Republican position. The Democratic position, brought up by the likes of Bernie Sanders, was let's lower it to age 50 or 55, right? And he came in and said, no, let's just do nothing. So don't lower the age, keep it the same, therefore kicking more people off of healthcare who could get it if we went with the original proposal. This is the kind of centrist he is. He is the quintessential Washington, D.C. insider. This guy has taken tremendous amounts of money from the fossil fuel industry. He's directly in business in the fossil fuel industry. Then he turns around and he goes, we need to kill most of your climate agenda here. You're doing too much. You're doing too much towards green technology. I got to kill that. So for him to say he's politically homeless is absurd. You know who's politically homeless? Me. You know who's politically homeless? You. How are we politically homeless? Well, you guys know what I want. I want Medicare for all. I want free college. I want a living wage. I want no more student loan debt. I want no more medical debt. Those are the things that I want. We're not getting any of those things, right? Even when we take little baby steps in the right direction, we're still not getting those things. I want to stop arming Israel as they slaughter Palestinian civilians. We're not getting these things. I am politically homeless. You are politically homeless. And I would argue, I am the real centrist. I am the real independent/moderate, and you are too. Why? Because if you look at my opinions and most of your opinions, it is right smack dab in the middle of mainstream public opinion. If you ask the American people, what do you think about gay marriage? 70%, 80% support it. What do you think about legalizing marijuana? 70%, 80% support it. What do you think about raising taxes on the rich? 70% support it. What do you think about raising the minimum wage? What do you think about unions? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about Medicare for all? Support overwhelmingly. We are the ones who are actually in the middle of mainstream public opinion. But he's the one who says, I'm a centrist, I'm in the middle, and I'm politically homeless. No, nobody has ever been more politically home than Joe Manchin in Washington, D.C. He is the ultimate insider. He is the quintessential insider. He is the ultimate, I'm half with the Republicans, I'm half with the Democrats, and let's take the left flank of the Democrats are proposing good things, and the right flank of the Republicans are proposing horrible things. Let's split the difference, and I'll go semi-horrible things. You're not a hero. You're not a maverick. You're not an independent-minded person. You're not some sort of person who's going to come in and save the day. Joe Manchin would represent the ultimate continuation of the status quo. And by the way, he really should not be anti-Biden. Why? Because Biden is very similar to him. I would argue Biden is, certainly how he governed as president, he is to the left of Joe Manchin. But not by much. So, I can't stand this, he has this notion of I'm being put upon, right? I'm the outsider, I'm the truth teller. And it's nobody is more of a status quo humper than you. So the exact same system that got us where we are right now, where, 70, 80% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. There was just an increase in homelessness of 12%. All the pandemic era expansion of the social safety net went away. He brought us all of those things. And he's acting like he's an outsider, he's a true representative of the people, and he's the one who will bring together the disconnected middle. No, the disconnected or disaffected middle, that's what our politics represent. What we want to do would represent that. He represents a tiny sliver of DC swamp things and ultimate lobbyists and insiders and corrupt donors. So anyway, I don't know, man. It looks to me like he's leaning more in favor of running than not. And then the way that affects the race, it's a big deal, right? Because you have what's likely to be the case: Biden versus Trump versus Jill Stein versus Cornel West versus RFK, maybe versus Manchin now. So you have more candidates who are theoretically pulling more votes from Biden than one's pulling it from Trump. And so he says that wouldn't be a spoiler. Well, ultimately, when all's said and done, we can crunch the numbers on it, and we'll know if you are or aren't. And so Mitt Romney apparently went to Joe Manchin and told him, don't run. This came out recently. Mitt Romney was like, don't do it, because you're going to hand the country over to Trump. And so look, it's hard to conclude anything other than he's a total idiot and thinks he could actually win, which is insane, or he wants to turn the country over to Trump. Not good, man. Not good. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.